Hello again, everybody. Great to have you along on this edition of Leadership America. My name is Scott Murray.
And I'm Angel Carlton, and Leadership America is a people empowerment company. We provide perspectives that help people become champions of change through a culture of civility, which our world could use really badly right now. How about it, Scott?
Well, I tell you what, we've got someone here that I think will probably give us a lot of insight on how we might even make things better in this crazy world that we're all enduring right now.
I have no doubt about that.
Well, he's a good man. He's a dear friend, 35 years. I remember when he came to Dallas back in 1986. It's a long time ago, but seems like only yesterday. The man himself, Herschel Walker. Welcome. How you doing?
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
We were so glad to have you here.
No, thank you guys. I tell you, when you said Leadership America, I was like, you talking about me? I was like, shocked.
Right.
Hello. Oh, thank you guys.
Well, how you doing? You look good.
Well.
You look, for Pete's sake, I said 35 years ago,
yes,
when you came here after you'd spent some time in the USFL and with President Trump up there and the
yes,
generals of New Jersey and what have you, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But as I look at you right now, my gosh, you still look like you could play football, for Pete's sake.
I'm in great shape, but you know, I almost have to be because of the things I'm doing and still involved with it. And I tell people, if you can talk it, you got to be able to do it. And, you know, I get challenged all the time. You know, people challenge me all the time. So I want to make sure that they want to know that I'll be that huckleberry. If they want to challenge me, I'll be ready. I hate to lose.
Angel and I were kidding before about the fact that you used to do like 2,000 sit-ups and push-ups and all that. What do you do now?
Well,
do you still do that?
I'm still doing the same. You know, with this pandemic going on right now, I'm still doing my 3,500 sit-ups, about 1,500 push-ups. You know, if I'm out on my bike.
It's about what you do, Angel.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
In like 3 years?
You're right.
Yeah, and my road bike, you know, now I get a chance to get out on my road bike. I do about 50 miles almost every morning.
Do you really?
And if I'm inside because it's raining, I try to do at least 25 and, you know, do all my isometrics and all that stuff. So I'm still working out, you know, trying to stay in shape a little.
Yeah. What drives you to stay in shape? So many athletes, after they retire, they
quit all. You know, I think what it is, it's more of a mental thing with me, and because, you know, I work with the President Fitness Council, and I say if I got to talk about fitness, I got to be fit myself. And, you know, so many people are calling and ask me for advice, and I have to be ready. And, you know, and I'm still in the MMA world. I don't know, you know, I did all of the MMA world, so I'm still doing that. And you have to be in shape, and I hate to lose. I tell people all the time I hate to lose. Not saying that losing is ever going to happen, but I tell people you don't go into anything to lose. If you go in it to lose, you're never going to be a champion. And so I train almost sort of like watching that movie with Mr. T and Rocky. And, you know, you remember in the first fight, Rocky was doing Mary Had a Little Lamb, kissing the babies and stuff, and they cut away to Mr. T, and he was working real hard in this terrible gym, and he's sweating. And I said, I think that's the way my life is all the time. People have read about Herschel Walker. You know, they read about all the crazy amounts of push-ups and sit-ups. And so you have some kid in this little bit of town training because he want to compete against me. And so when he shows up, I want to let him know I'll be your huckleberry because I'm not going to be a YouTube excitement for him. You know, I like to win. He like to win. So it'll be a good competition.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, how about that, for sure.
Gosh,
well, it's hard to believe, but let's go back close to 40 years ago. 1982.
Yes.
You were down in the great state of Georgia playing a little football at the University of Georgia, and you go on to win. No surprise here. Considered maybe arguably the greatest running back of all time. Coming out of college as the Heisman Trophy winner in 1982, and the rest is history. Think back, if you might, to those days, Herschel. And I know you've told me before, you never really were a football fan as a kid growing up. Talk about that whole scenario, winning the Heisman, and then from there, going on to the USFL.
You know, what was so strange about it is, you know, before I even went to college, you know, I was going to the military. You know, I thought I was cut out to be a Marine. I thought, God, I wanted to be a Marine. And even though I was probably the number one high school guy coming out of high school, I was not going. And I couldn't tell my mom and dad at the time, you know, Mom, Dad, I want to go to the military. I'm not going to college. And signing day is in February. Mm-hmm. And I remember on Easter Sunday in April, my mom came to me, and my nickname is Bo, and she said, Bo, don't you think it's time for you to decide whether you want to go to school? And before I can tell her that I want to go to the military, and she said, but let me tell you this. If your mind and your heart is pure to the Lord Jesus, it really don't matter about your decision because God will make it right for you. And at that time, guys, I flipped a coin. That's how I ended up at the University of Georgia. I flipped a coin, but I was always taught from my parents, no matter what you do it well. That's your job. And I remember going to the University of Georgia, and people always ask, you carried the ball so many times, and I'm like, the ball is not heavy. That's my job. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do my job. I don't care if they gave it to me 100 times. That's my job. I got to be ready when my name is called. So I go to the University of Georgia just to do the very best I can do. Not to go out and try to be a star, go out to do anything, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I knew if I got in trouble, my parents were going to be mad. And to be honest with you, when I got nominated as a freshman for the Heisman Trophy, people laugh at this. But I didn't know what the Heisman Trophy was at that time.
No kidding.
Because I never followed football. So I didn't even know what it was. And everybody was all excited about it. And I was pretending I was excited about it too. And I went to the library to read about it. And that's how I learned about the Heisman Trophy. And I was like, wow, that's a big time award. I didn't win it, my freshman and my sophomore year. And they gave it to me my junior year, which made me feel guilty. And I'm going to tell you the reason it made me feel guilty, because I'm not sure if they gave it to me or if I won it. Because, everyone was telling me I should have won it my freshman year. And to be honest with you, I don't think I won it my sophomore year. I thought Marcus Allen had a great year. He had a lot of yards. And so I don't know whether they said, oh, geez, we got to give it to him his junior year, because, I get a chance to vote today. And I say, as I look back at my 82 year, even though I had a great year, I look back, and the way I judge the Heisman Trophy is how important are you to your team? What do you mean to your team? Can they play without you if you were not there? And I said, I think University of Georgia still could have had a great team if I was not there. And then I said, Elway. And I think Elway finished second. I think Eric Dixon was third. I think Elway meant more to Stanford than I meant to Georgia. And I said, if I was voting today and honest with myself, I would have voted for Elway. So I'm not sure. And I even said it. I said it at the speech when I got the Heisman Trophy. I think at an interview, I said, man, I feel like I'm the Susan Lucci at a Heisman Trophy. And I don't think people understood that. And I said, I don't want people to ever give me anything. Because, I've never asked for anything. I go out and work. My parents always taught me to work hard and stuff. Same thing in the classroom. So, but I appreciate it. I really thank them so much, because that means so much to me. And I said something back then, and people don't even know what I was talking about back then, but I said it today. And I said, guys, what is sad to me, and I even told someone this not long ago, I said, what's sad to me, and you think about this, Herschel Walker, that everyone knew so much in college, Herschel Walker that won the Heisman Trophy, not one of my offensive linemen made an All-American team.
Really?
Not one of them made an All-American team. And I said, wait a minute, how can you give a Heisman to a running back, but not one of his offensive linemen make All-American? Because it wasn't all about me, and I'm not trying to be humble here. And I said, guys, when you look at the film when I played, even when I started as a freshman, even my very first play with Bill Bates, if you watch that hole open up, this is the honest truth, you could drive a Mike truck through it. So it wasn't like I had nobody in front of me blocking. And not like I said, it is a shame sometimes that it is so great that we have a team, that we always have a team, but sometimes you find one person that you give that award to. And I said, my award that I got, goes to my whole team. It doesn't just go to me. I had so many great people, and I'm so weird anyway. So they kept me sane. I think they kept me together.
So here you are, Heisman Trophy, Hall of Fame. You have an opportunity to go to the NFL, and you end up in a league called the USFL.
Well, at the time I was a junior. And, at the time, the juniors couldn't go into the NFL. Well, and I didn't really think about it. I didn't even know about that. I didn't really care. Well, you're going to be shocked. I flipped a coin.
Another coin.
I did. People don't realize Cindy, my ex-wife, and I, at the time, we were in my apartment in Athens. And I said, should I go to the USFL or stay here in college? And it came for me to go to the USFL. And I said, okay, then I'm going to the USFL. I said, okay, I'm going to go. And then I started second-guessing myself a little bit. And I said, no. I remember what my mom said, if your heart and your mind is pure of Jesus, no matter what decision you make, it'll be the right one for you. And I go off to the USFL, and today sometimes people say, Herschel, that was a terrible mistake you made. And I said, no, it wasn't. And you may understand the reason I'm going to say this, and people don't even know this. I said, guys, when I left the University of Georgia, I was a running back. All people ever thought that I can do was run the ball. They never thought I could catch a ball. Never thought I could do anything. I went to the USFL, and people thought they saw that I was an athlete, that I can do a lot of different things. They saw I can catch. And my first year with the Dallas Cowboys, I think I broke the Cowboys receiving record. Wow. And I was a running back. And, the Cowboys had some incredible receivers. I played, I don't know how many different positions. I played because they had Tony Dorsett, one of the best running backs ever played in pro football. So I played a lot of different positions where I think people saw that when I was in the USFL. When they started watching film, they were like, wait a minute, he can do that, he can do this. And they saw that I can do a lot of different things. So I think that made me a better football player. And, what was weird about it is, this is how probably crazy I am. I never looked at myself as a running back. I looked at myself as a football. I think probably whenever I used to talk back then, I always talked about I'm a good football player. I never say I'm a good running back. I don't know. I want to be good at everything I go out to do, whether he was going to make me play tight end, whether I was going to play wide receiver, whether I was going to play. I don't care where I'm at. I want to be good at it because that's what I was taught from my parents, that whatever you do, you want to do it well. I don't care if you're a garbage man.
Right.
You want to be the best garbage man out there, and that's where I was taught my whole life. And so I don't know anything different, and that's why I tell people today, I don't know how not to give my all. So no matter what I do, I'm going to go out and try to do it my very best.
Well, it sounds like the USFL gave you some incredible opportunities. That's where you met Donald Trump because he owned the team.
He owned the team.
The New Jersey, what was it?
New Jersey Generals.
That's
I tell you, incredible man. And this what was so interesting, and people probably think I'm a fortune teller now, but in 1985, and I still can remember this, in 1985, I remember Donald and I we were somewhere, and I was doing an article for the New York Times. They probably now destroyed it during the paper, but I said in that paper, this man could be president of the United States.
Oh, wow.
I said that in 1985.
Really?
And the reason I said
that was your prediction.
Well, no, the reason I said that is I saw the way he loved the United States of America. That's all he ever taught, the United States of America. He was so into the United States of America. And I'm like, wow, he loved the United States. So I said, he can be president of the United States of America. And we became friends. That's what was so interesting. This was and I always say he was a young man. I didn't realize he was older than I thought he was at that time. Stupid me. But we became friends. Not just, we became like family friends. I was at his house. Little Ivanka and little Donald, I helped raise. They were little. They were with me. They were with me. I took them every Disney World, SeaWorld, every place they went as little kids. My wife and I were the one that took them. So we became friends, and so that's what is so interesting to have someone like myself, from a small little southern town, to become friends with a guy like that. And what's so weird about it, I didn't see President Trump as, I didn't even know how much money he had back then, whether he was a billionaire then, I don't know, but I just saw him as a human being. He was a friend. He treated me well, and that's all I ever know. I don't know nothing about money, about whatever. It's just a person's heart, and that's what I saw of him at that time.
Yeah, he was such an admired entrepreneur back then. I mean, who would ever think? He was
a hard worker.
Yes,
he was a hard worker. And that was something he did, and this is interesting. I'm gonna tell this story here. That's something he did, and if anyone ever meet him, you'll notice this about him. I remember he and I, we were going down to one of his casinos in Atlantic City. He had to check some things out. And we went through the warehouse. And as we were going through the warehouse, he started naming, saying hello to the people in the warehouse that worked at the warehouse. He knew their names.
Love it. Yeah.
And no time, he was calling everybody names and going through the warehouse, shaking their hands and hello as we were walking through. And he said, that's what you want to do. Remember people's names. Because he said, give them value. If you can remember their names, give them value. And I said, that means a whole lot. And and I use that today in my company. I try to remember people's names because I said that he's right by that. Mm-hmm. You remember people's names and make them feel a part, make them feel important as well.
Yeah. You talk about your company. Why don't you bring us up to date on some of the things that you're doing, some of the things that you're involved with now, and then we'll move on to back in 1986, 87, you make the Pro Bowl as a member of the Dallas Cowboys, and you finally get smart and come to the great state of Texas. So bring us up to date, first of all, on what you're doing now, and then let's talk about that.
Well, 23 years ago, I got into the food business. I got into the protein business, the chicken business. And today, I'm the largest minority-owned food company in the United States.
Good for you.
Largest minority-owned chicken company in the United States. And not only that, I now got into the military. My mom said, if your mind and heart are pure of Jesus, no matter what decision you make it the right one. As a little kid, I always wanted to be involved with the military. Well, 12 years ago, I wrote the book on Herschel Walker, My Life with Dissociative Identity Disorder. Mm-hmm. And people, they call me crazy, which I am crazy, but it's okay to be crazy. But what's weird about it is I took that book and I put the money behind in the behavioral health arena. Well, I started working with the military. So now I work with a program out of a hospital group, UHS, Universal Health System, out of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. We're the largest acute care hospital in the world, and we also the largest behavioral health hospital in the world. So now they've dedicated a certain amount of hospital to me with a program we call Patriot Support. So every 3 weeks, I'm at a base somewhere in the world trying to remove that stigma of mental health. Because our military servicemen and women, people always call them, they go through so much, and when they go to combat or even when they go through training. And sometimes some of them get to a point that they can't handle. And sometimes we get ashamed whenever we talk about mental health. Everybody get ashamed. Nobody want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. People start thinking that something is wrong because, you watch so many television programs, and whenever you have a mental problem, you're the big, bad monster. You're the bad person out there. And I try to bring some legitimacy and say, no, you're not a monster. Things are all right. That, to remove that stigma, and that's what I've been doing for the last 12 years. And we've been averaging almost 4,500 military service men and women a year. The last year we did about 4,500.
4 to 500?
4,500. No, 45. I meant to say 4,500 military service men in a hospital. In a hospital we treat.
God love you, Herschel. Good for you.
And last year we did about 7,500 military service men and women a year. And that's from anything from drug, alcohol, to any type of mental problem that they may have. We treat all that and stuff. And all that is, and I tell people, it's sort of like leaving with the wrong hat on. Because I told somebody one time, I said, I got a chance to be around Mike Tyson. I tell you, that's one of the best men I ever met. He's one of the nicest people I ever met. But you remember that Mike Tyson that used to go in the rain. You don't want him babysitting your child. I'm like, no, I don't want him. But I do want that other one, that nice one, doing it. And I said, that's what happens sometimes. And I remember Michael Jordan said something one time. I was watching television. And he said, when I'm in my zone, he said, I'm Superman. Mm-hmm. He said, I can do some amazing things. He said, I can jump higher, I run faster. He said, I don't miss. And I said, that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you get in that zone, and on a basketball court, it's okay. On a baseball diamond, it's okay. On a football field, it's okay. But sometimes if you bring that zone to your house, people can't understand it. Or you bring it in the street, people don't understand it. Now, that's what happens sometimes. You can't bring that combative stuff to your house because your family don't understand it. So now people think something is wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong. We just got to help you to understand it. And there's people out there that can do it, and that's what I try to help them to understand. That, guys, I've been through it. I'm a person, I never drank before in my life. I never tasted beer. I never had a drug before. I don't even take medicine. And I said, but I had a problem that stemmed from when I was a little boy when I was bullied. I was overweight. I had a speech impediment, so I was bullied all the time. For 4 years of my life, I never spoke in a classroom. I sit in the corner, and then I was beat up. Well, I use that anger as my coping mechanism, where I put it back in the back, and I use that anger as my coping mechanism through sports and athletics, through termination, and I never dealt with it. And as I was getting out of the serious sports world, all of a sudden now that anger is going to be in my home, it's going to be here, and they're like, oh, something is wrong. And I thought, how in the world could something be wrong? I was valedictorian in my class. I won a Heisman. I was a Pro Bowler. How in the world could I have a problem? Well, I found out, I did have a problem. Well, first, when they diagnosed me, I'm thinking, this doctor's crazy because I know I don't have no DID, like dissociative identity disorder. He got to be crazy because, I'm pretty cool. I'm Herschel Walker. And then as I started looking at some of the stuff I write, I started looking at that, and I started looking at my life, how I didn't have a pain threshold, and just look at my life. I said, well, something may be wrong. And people don't know, I went to a behavioral health hospital. They used to call it crazy hospital. You can't say crazy hospital because HR get pissed off. You got to say behavioral health hospital today. So I went to one of those and stuff, and I started thinking, whoa, the people here are crazy. Everybody here is crazy except Herschel Walker. But God opened my eye because that was a young lady going through what I was going through. But she was being abused by her husband. And as I saw her, I realized then that we all fall short of the glory of God. And I realized that I looked back over my life, and I realized that's what was happening to me. So that's when I started working on Herschel Walker. And you know what's weird is, you know, whenever you go to one of those hospitals, people think now you're not the man you used to be because you went to a behavioral hospital. Well, that's when I got out of that hospital and I built my company. You know, that's when I built a multi-million-dollar company after leaving that hospital. That's when I got into the MMA world. I went undefeated as a heavyweight in the MMA world, so I'm pretty cool. So I try to let our servicemen and women, our first responders, know that there's no shame to ask for help. That's one of the problems we have today is we think when you ask for help, you're weak or you're less. And I said, no, there's no shame to ask for help. You know, we're people, we're human, that we make mistakes in life. And to be honest with you, it is okay to make a mistake. What's not okay is to correct that mistake. You don't sit in the crossroads just sitting there thinking, which way should I go? Take a direction because you can't turn around. That's what's so funny. You can't turn around. The problem is if you just sit there because you're going to get run over. Things move, and that's what I've learned. So sorry, that was a long statement.
Let me ask you, just since we're on this topic, yes. And I'm thinking about the football players, the professional football players that play today.
Yes.
And with the pandemic, and I'm just now getting back to playing this fall, what do you think it was like, or what impact do you think it had on their mental health for them not to be able to play the game for so long? And on top of that, when they do go back and play, there are no fans. Can you imagine no fans cheering you on?
It's going to be tough. But, you know, most of the time, if you're a professional, the fans shouldn't play a part. You play because you like to win. And I tell people, you play because you want to be better than that guy over there. I think the mental part that is going to play on you more than anything is your family. You're not there with your family now like you should have been, like you should be, not should have been, like you should be. I think that's the mental part that plays on you. Is, okay, how's my family doing while I'm here? And I think that's what plays a big part. And, you know, when they were trying to put this together, the first thing I said is they should treat this almost like a training camp. Meaning put it in, I love what the NBA did, why they said they went to the bubble. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best way you can do it for right now is go to like a training camp where you're at a training camp where you're not isolated away from everything. So you're not going back to your family all the time, but stay away from, you know, maybe a little bit longer training camp and play the games like that. Because I think you have to worry about that because no one knows how this pandemic is going to react. No one knows how it's going to react because, and I think that's the problem I think they have to worry about. But I think we have to have sports. We have to have some type of normalcy, but we can help that. And that's what's so funny. We can help that. But we got to get back to normal. One thing that scared, I told Julie this. We were sitting at home, and I was sitting there, and I went, wow, man, this is crazy. Even though I see all my neighbors and I see all of them, but I said, you know what? People need people.
Yeah, we do.
You need each other. We need people.
The human connection,
is so powerful.
Yeah.
So I got out, and I just went riding around, and I didn't get out to talk to people, but I wanted to see people. And I say, because that played a very strong mental part on you as a person. You need that interaction of just seeing and breathing and all that. Because I said, when you're at your house, you know, it's sort of like being in prison. And think about someone that's all alone. It's like they're in consolidated confinement. You know, those walls will start closing in on it. And I think, I said, our country got to think about that. And I do understand, wow, a little bit, but I said, you got to think about a little bit how that mentally plays on a young kid. And we can get into that later. So I'm sorry, I get long-winded. And remember, I couldn't talk when I was young, so today I talk all the time, so you got to overlook that.
You're making up for a lot of
time, I'm making up for it.
Well, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because it's so many years ago, but you came here in 86, and I'm talking about you joined the Cowboys.
Yes.
Then you were in the Pro Bowl in 87 and 88. Tony Dorsett is traded off to the Denver Broncos. He goes to Colorado. And then in 89, you become a part of the biggest trade in the history of the NFL. and the Cowboys are looking for draft picks. Jerry Jones has just bought the team.
Yes.
Jimmy Johnson is the new head coach. The legendary Tom Landry is retired after 29 years. And now the Cowboys are looking to do some new things. So what are they going to do? And they're coming off a 3-13 season.
Yes.
And then in 1989 they were 1-15. So the Cowboys, with Jerry Jones before that 1-15 season, says, we better get some new players and some draft picks and whatever. So off to the Minnesota Vikings you go, and they get draft picks for Darren Woodson and Emmitt Smith, and the list goes on and on and on. And a couple years later, 92, 93, and 95, they win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.
Yes.
So you have a lot to do with that, my friend. Did you ever get a Super Bowl ring for that?
Jerry never gave me a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
And stuff. And Jerry, you owe me a Super Bowl ring. But, one thing I told someone, I said, guys, if I was Jerry and Jimmy, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the things I've ever written or talked about, I said, guys, if I own an NFL program today, I would hire Jimmy Johnson to help me to run it. And people said, why would you say that? Jimmy was one to trade you. No, it got nothing to do with that. It got nothing to do with it. I said, I respected him as a coach and the way he coached, because I said, being a professional athlete sometimes, we think we're better than, now you become smart because you make money. Now you become very intelligent. You got your doctorate because you make money. Well, money and intelligence got nothing to do with each other. I need to let people know that. But I love the way Jimmy Johnson made people play. You came here to play football. You didn't come here to be a golfer. Mm-hmm. You didn't come here to play basketball. You didn't come here to be a rapper. You came here to play football, and that's what he focused on. And I said, that's the reason I think I'd like for him to help me run a program. And then I said, guys, I like Jerry Jones. People said, what are you talking about? I like Jerry Jones because he foresee. I said, this man, this guy is a foreseer. He's an owner, meaning you're supposed to make better what you got. You may do some things wrong, but that's okay. And I would have traded Herschel Walker too, because, one player do not make a team. You need players. They needed players. They didn't have any first round draft pick. I think they gave him up with Steve Walsh. I think
right.
Whatever. And so I would have traded Herschel Walker too. Traded him. I talk about myself in third person, but I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, they had no.
They had nothing.
No. In 89, their first pick was Troy Aikman.
Yes.
And Darrell Johnston was the second pick. Emmett comes in 1990.
Yes.
So, and Emmett was the 17th pick in the first round. They just didn't have but because of that trade with you, now
and
they
then,
suddenly,
going to Minnesota wasn't bad. Cause, this was so funny. I really love Minnesota. At first, I didn't even know where Minnesota was at. I'm supposed to be telling what the heck is Minnesota? All I thought of Minnesota was it's cold. I hate cold weather. Most black people hate cold weather. Like, it's cold in Minnesota. I'm not going to Minnesota. Yeah. And I thought of them black guy trying to hook his battery up, and so I'm like, man, Minnesota, where the heck is that at? And I did this weird thing, and we'll go into that later, but I went to Minneapolis, and I tell you what, that's one of the best places I ever lived in my life. And I tell people, that was one of the best places I ever lived.
For what reason?
The people, the city, the way the people were, how kind they were and stuff. And even though the coaches, I don't think the coaches really wanted me to play there. I think they kept trying to keep me from playing there and stuff, but the people were so nice to me and this and that. I told people, if I ever run for president, I guarantee you I can carry the state of Minnesota. The people absolutely love me there, the way they treated me there and stuff. And I said, that's one of the best places I've ever lived in my life and stuff. And, I had my wife and my dog, sort of like a country music song there. So we went up to Minnesota, and we were there for 3 years, and absolutely incredible, I thought, being there in Minnesota. And to be honest with you, when I left Minnesota, it was sort of tough to leave Minnesota because I got where I liked it, but because I felt the coaches really didn't want me to really play. And the reason I say that is I don't think the coaches they didn't know there was a trade. I don't know if you knew this. Mm-hmm. The coaches had nothing to do with the trade. Management did the trade with Jerry Jones. And what was weird is the coaches never knew it. They didn't know they lost a player. They didn't know they lost a draft pick. So it was sort of like Herschel was to blame. And I'm like, God, I didn't know I would trade it either. I found it out the last minute. But I think, and if this is right, I was almost traded to Cleveland. I don't know if people know that. I think Art Modell and Jerry had talked about me being traded to Cleveland first. And I think at that time, Mike Lynn said, we'll give you more. And that's how I ended up going to Minnesota. And I hated to leave because at the time Coach Burns was leaving. And they had a new coach coming in. They asked Herschel, why don't you stay? And I said, well, I love the people here. And I said, but I think I need to move on. And Reggie White from Philadelphia called me up. And Reggie, the Minister of Defense, and I think one of the best defensive linemen ever to play football. Reggie White said, Herschel, why don't you come to Philadelphia? And he said, that's a city of brotherly love, like this. I'm thinking, wow, that's a city that loves brothers? I'm kind of stupid. I'm from the country. I'm like, whoa, that would be a great place to go. And I went to Philly, and I tell you what, another great place. I absolutely love Philadelphia. But I think I just love people. People treat you kind, and I had a good year there in Philly. Things came back around, and things started happening again for me and stuff, and I love Philly. And the hospitals I work at now is in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, not too far where I used to live, University Health System. And so I loved Philly for 3 years and stuff. And then all of a sudden Reggie leave and everybody leaving Philly. Reggie go to Green Bay. And I'm thinking, Green Bay, where the heck is Green Bay at? Like, where is Green Bay? Wisconsin? I know it's in Wisconsin, but where is it? And then cold weather again.
Yeah, there you go.
Say, I'm not going to Green Bay. And they said, what are you doing? Well, it was weird. I still had a house in Jersey. Because, I started with Donald Trump. I still had a place there in Jersey. I said, sure, I'll go play for the Giants. Because that was sort of like home. Cindy was from Brooklyn. And, I had made New York was sort of like my second home. I went up to the Giants for a year, which was a mistake. I didn't flip a coin. I should have flipped a coin. I didn't flip a coin to decide that one. So I went there for like a year, and it was okay. It was all right. And I remember getting a call, and I'm not sure whether it may have been from Jerry about me coming back to the Cowboys. I'm like, yeah, I love to come back to Dallas. I said, I still got that house there. I love to come back to Dallas. And I ended up back here in Dallas again.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're still here. So we can have this opportunity to talk to you face to face. This is awesome.
It was a great thing because, and I go back to the USFL. What's weird is I remember in the USFL, I asked the coach one day if I can return kickoff returns. They were like, what? You want to return kickoffs? And they said, yeah, you can do it. So I returned kickoff returns. Well, normally when you play as a starting running back, they don't let you do those things. You can't do special team. I had to run down like on punt. They don't let you do that. Well, because I was in the USFL, they saw that I can do that. When I got in the NFL, I got a chance to return kickoff returns. I got a chance to cover punts and stuff. And I'll tell someone this. I guarantee you won't find running backs that have as many tackles that I had or had, well, you're not going to find have as many punt return yards as I got and all this. Because I said I became that football player that I did a lot of things. And I enjoyed it. I tell you, I enjoy competition. I don't care what it is. I enjoy competition because I love to win. And I'm not going to play golf because I know I'm not going to win at it. I'm not great at that. But most everything else you'll see me doing, if I got a chance of winning it, you'll see me doing it.
You're so multifaceted.
And, I'm just weird.
I really admire people who are talented and in a position like that where you're using your voice. And recently, you've been featured in the media. I saw you on Fox News, on the Hannity show, and you're using your voice. And a lot of retired athletes just kind of, go under the radar after a while, and not you. You're really out there sharing some perspectives.
Well, you know what's weird about it? I love America. I love America, and I think being able to work with the military, and I love our first responders, being able to be around them. But America is a wonderful country. We're the best country in the world.
I agree.
We're the best country in the world, and I don't care what anyone says. Even during this time right now, we're still the best country in the world. That's what's so amazing. And when I see the things that's going on, my thing is we got to speak up. We have to speak up.
We got to speak up. We have to speak up. The words of Herschel Walker. Herschel will continue his conversation with us on our next edition of Leadership America, when he addresses the issues we're all enduring due to the pandemic. Until then, stay strong, be safe, be kind, and stay civil.